Hello, my fellow ghouls. I am Baron Bones. And since there was no new horror release this week, it's time we turn back the clock and look at an older film. So let's go back to 2002 and discuss Ghost Ship. So, Ghost Ship was directed by Steve Beck and was released on October 25th, 2002. It stars Julianne Margulies as a member of a salvage crew who discovers this ocean liner adrift at sea that's been missing for 40 some odd years. They go aboard, but not everything is as it seems. Believe it or not, Ghost Ship wasn't initially envisioned as a straight-up horror movie. It was initially envisioned as a psychological thriller. According to reports, it was pitched as a script called Chimera, where, again, the salvage crew would find this abandoned boat and find gold in it, and then slowly but surely turn on one another. However, for one reason or another, the movie changed. According to what I could find, it was more than likely due to, in part, because of 9/11. I'll be perfectly honest, I don't know if that's true or not. But according to what I found, it's apparently due to the fact they felt like a psychological thriller at that time wouldn't do as well as a straight-up good and evil story would. And apparently they also had already cast the movie at that point and didn't tell the actors about the change. Now that, I actually kind of believe, and I'll get into that a little bit later. However, the movie did do well at the box office. It had a budget of about $20 million and made right over around $60 million. So, it did good at the box office, just didn't do well with critics. Yeah, they didn't like it at all. In fact, they downright hated it, to put it lightly. Let's talk about why that probably happened. So, yeah, the story here is as generic as it gets. Crew finds boat, goes aboard boat, ghost story happens. And that in of itself isn't the problem. The problem is the pacing. We spend a lot of time doing nothing. Just exploring the boat, but not in any meaningful way for a decent part of the beginning of the runtime. It's not until about halfway through that creepy shit starts happening. And that's kind of the main issue here. Then you have the characters, which aren't really well written and aren't that interesting. And an antagonist that you can see a mile away. Like, seriously, I called every twist and turn this film has, especially with its big twist at the end. And it's because of how generic this film is. Furthermore, well, this is why I say the actors probably weren't too happy about the change. Their performances are all over the place. Now, some of them are trying, others know they're in a piece of crap, and clearly don't care. Yeah, there are a lot of rough performances, but not as rough as the early 2000 visuals. Okay, look, I don't generally hate on a movie for the time period it comes out at, but in the early 2000s, we had a tendency to abuse flash cutting, and this film does that quite a lot in the beginning. Furthermore, the opening sequence, which is by far the most bloody and gory of all the sequences, was shot almost like a Final Destination movie. In fact, a lot of the deaths feel like they were taken out of a Final Destination script. And Final Destination had come out 2 years before this film, so part of me thinks that it's intentional. What's annoying is the production value of this film isn't that bad. I actually think that the set that they used for the ship is kind of cool. And if they had continued to use it in a meaningful way with decent shots and good music that didn't feel like it came out of the early 2000s with the worst rock music in the worst place possible. We could have had something here. Unfortunately, this film is just a ton of wasted potential. And that's the main issue here. This film had a chance to be decent. Not great, but at least decent. But it just blows that opportunity and every opportunity it has. At the end of the day, Ghost Ship isn't anything worth watching. It's just another generic horror movie. Now, you can check it out for free on Tubi, but I don't even recommend doing that because it's just not worth your time. This is a film that should be forgotten, like a lot of films that came out in the early 2000s that use similar techniques to this movie. Anyway, that's my opinion on Ghost Ship. What do you think about it if you've seen it? And if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, stay terrified.